Hi, everybody. It's Friday. I think it's Friday. Honestly, I don't even remember what day it is half the time. We're all over the place. But this is the DLLS Dallas Stars podcast, and we are live, and we're going to talk about tonight's preseason game against the Colorado Avalanche at the AAC. A fun conversation, I think, about the NHL coaching carousel and a lot of NHL news and notes. It's Friday. I'm sure there's a beer in Lighty's hand somewhere up in Wisconsin. Let's find out right now.
Hey, Lud.
Oh, hey. In case you didn't catch what was on yesterday's DLLS Stars podcast, here's what you missed. The posse will be here probably about 6 o'clock, and then all the fun and games.
Yes. There you go. Look at that. The second time that's made a show appearance.
Yeah.
Ice cold. Ice cold.
There you go. I'm
Now,
gonna
we're
make
out
light.
of time, Sean, but really quickly, I want
Oh,
to
you're gonna cut me off. Wow.
I'm going to
Yeah,
cut you
you
off
sure
here,
did.
Wow,
but
wow.
I'm
Good
doing
job.
it to give you a
We're
compliment.
not in the studio, apparently. They thinks he's got more power.
Sam wants to know, Luds, do you miss me?
Not at all.
Luds, what's your favorite iteration of Stars jerseys and colors?
What does iteration mean?
Good afternoon. It is Friday, September 27th. This is the DLLS Dallas Stars podcast. We are live from our lounge studios. I'm Owen Newkirk alongside Sam Nestler, and joining us from parts somewhat known up in the area known as Eagle River, Wisconsin. It's our very own Stanley Cup champion, 2 times over, Craig Ludwig. Luddy, Sam is already upset because that previously clip where you said not at all when he asked if you missed him, he goes, man, that was really harsh.
Sam, I hear your squeaky voice in my sleep.
Oh, sweet. I have a squeaky voice.
No, you don't. For your stature, you have a deep voice.
Oh,
Wow. The short jokes
Well,
begin already.
You're not 6'4". You're not 6'4".
That's true. Yeah. You aren't 6'4".
I was on my high school depth chart on the roster
Did you play
sheet.
basketball?
No.
Okay.
Ever?
I mean, till 7th grade, I think.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a great 3-point shooter.
See, you
and
were a 3-and-D
Well, so-
in 6th grade.
let's dive into this because this is what the people want to hear. I was 5'8", which I am now, 5'9", 5'8", whatever, in 6th grade.
Wait, were you tall?
I was taller than everybody by a mile. So when I tell people I peaked in middle school in about every way.
So you do actually know the life experience of being a tall kid in your grade.
I was tall. I was more athletic than a lot of people. I was held back in kindergarten, so I was also older than a lot of people.
Look at that, Luddy. They were
So
using the system.
My sports career peaked in 8th grade when I was taller than everybody and I was way faster on the ice. And then most people caught up in high school, and I became a third line stand in front of the net kind of guy, which I was better for my.
Luddy, what do you think about the allegedly 5'8" net front presence?
Net front presence?
That's what he
That's
said.
5'8"?
In high school, let's keep in mind.
Sam, listen really close.
Yes,
That's
is
what
Friday.
I think of your 5'8" net front
All right.
presence.
We'll get out
I
there,
heard there
lads.
was
We'll do some tips.
I heard that there was a Dallas Stars game tonight.
That's what we're going to talk about. But before we get to it, throw the map up there, Tanner. By the way, Tanner Rotman is in today for John Anderson, our normal star DLS Stars producer.
There's John.
John is in Boston for a wedding. As you can see, there's Luds in Wisconsin. It's the northern Midwest, in case for people who are really bad about geography. I mean, we all know where Wisconsin is, right?
Yeah, it's in America.
And then Sean is not on the show today. There's Sam and I are somewhere in North Texas. And then there's Pat Verbeek out in California. And we still don't know where our favorite ding is, but we won't say his name, will we?
I'm going to try not to today.
Yeah. We didn't say it.
Oh, he just likes
Tanner
to ding
just
us
wanted,
anyway.
He was so excited to hit the ding.
Here's a question.
I'll say it. Joe Pavelski's still somewhere out in the Bermuda Triangle.
I was going to say, if we don't say it during a show, do we get a new picture that says like 1 day since last?
Let's not tax Tanner.
I'm not talking about him. I'm not talking about Tanner right now. I just mean in general, because I mean, someday we're going to forget.
What's the deal with the Coyotes logo over there?
It's up in Utah for some reason.
That's where they are.
That's where they are now, right? They moved to Utah. I don't know why John put that on
Luds,
there.
the Coyotes are now the Utah Hockey Club. They moved to Utah in the summer. They're not the Phoenix Coyotes anymore or the Arizona Coyotes.
Let's move on.
I know you were out cutting trees all
right,
summer.
No. He wasn't cutting trees. Show the next photo because we know exactly what Luddy was doing this morning.
Yes.
He was going, I believe, as Mike Commodore likes to say, in one this morning.
That's swing lube.
Where's the goat energy?
No goat juice left from yesterday. We're on E as far as goat juice goes.
Look, it looks like he can barely fit in the cart with the bucket, sacrificing the driving foot.
There's only one person in that cart because that bucket needs the passenger seat.
Well, actually, that's my brother driving. I was walking alongside.
See, there you go.
But that's priorities, right?
Yeah.
You knew exactly what you wanted, which was that bucket needs a ride.
I just came in from the woods from trying to find my ball.
So I heard a funny story at the rink yesterday. I was talking to Brad Alberts and Josh Bogard and a couple other people, and Sevy was there. And apparently he gets pranked a lot, and he pranks a lot. Sevy.
Oh my God!
So
all the time.
So he at this golf thing that was, I don't know what the event was this summer.
Was that the Dallas Stars Foundation?
I'm assuming it was the
foundation
one because it was a big video on during Wednesday's game. But
that was up at I think it's Stone Ridge Country Club.
Yeah. So Sevy was in it a ton. Like he was on the big board like almost the whole time they were showing that. So I found out that the PR team, Brad Alberts and a few other people had a hand in this. They distracted Sevy while he was doing something. And Sevy even understood that they were trying to prank him. And he was checking all of his gear. He was checking his clubs, making sure everything was fine. Got in his cart, accelerated. Golf bag flew off the back because they had unstrapped it.
It's a prank as old as time.
So he was expecting and still was pranked, which I thought was. And then Sevy started talking. I was like, I see why you get pranked so much. You got that prank me look on your face, you know.
Luddy, do you agree with that? Do you think Sevy is an easy target?
Yeah, but I'd be careful.
Yeah, no, I didn't say I was going to prank him. I just said I see why people that you really know well can prank you.
Yeah, I'd watch my step with Sevy. He'll usually get the last word in somehow.
Yeah.
So Luddy tried to do a really nice segue, and we just crapped all over it. So now let's do it. He said, "Hey, I hear there's a game tonight." Yes, indeed. It's the 4th preseason game for the Stars. They play the Colorado Avalanche for the 2nd time, and it's still going to be a pretty young Avalanche lineup if what you're reporting is correct.
Yeah, it looked like it.
Because they didn't actually have it. I tweeted this out. I said I thought it was kind of I was being sarcastic, but that the Avalanche were refusing to submit their roster because they're really looking for every possible advantage for this vital exhibition contest.
Need an edge in this meaningless game, but yeah, it looks like I didn't see any of the big names at least out there. Ivan is expected to travel.
By far my favorite Avalanche player, along with Kiviranta. All right, so let's get to the Stars. What did you see at practice, at morning skate today? We saw the lineup. Actually, we can put it right up on the screen. Here's what Sam's line rushes looked like. Take us through it.
Yeah, so the Ben one was interesting, and we've seen Dodonov on that top line with Hintz and Johnston a bunch during camp. So not a little surprisingly, Ben with Hintz and Johnston, but I believe they played together before as well, and they looked good. So Dodonov will go in place of Marchment with Duchesne and Sagan. The third line with Blumel, Ritzkovian, and Lind is kind of like a show me what you got kind of line. Those are 2, if not 3 guys that are kind of in the mix and getting some attention. And then the bottom line, Earl Hughes and Semenoff is the younger guy, the younger group. But the D pairs were interesting as well, because we know the Heiskanen Dumba, Harley Lyubushkin, they're keeping that pair, which I know you said you like a lot, because
Which one?
Both of them, just keeping those pairs and getting a little bit of the chemistry of the left-right and not just bouncing everyone around during the preseason.
Yeah, I want to see more of those guys. And Luds, we talked about it a lot on the show, but Heiskanen, Dumba, and I want to see more of Harley Lyubushkin, especially from a Victory Plus broadcast tonight, because the other one we saw with Harley Lyubushkin, it was really not as easy to see because they did the alt cast.
Yep.
So I think, Luddy, that this will be a better chance, at least for us, if we're not going to be at the AAC watching, to get a look at what Harley Lyubushkin looked like.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to see some patterns here, where you're putting, look at your top four. I think that's what we're going to be seeing probably at the start of the season. You've got your top two lines there. And yeah, I think you're looking for some chemistry to kind of build into that thing, into that second pair with Harley and Lyubushkin. And oh yeah.
Abby Odag.
Hello.
That's the young one. Get out of here.
You said he's the one that's on the Honor Society?
Yeah.
Favorite.
Yeah, I'm the favorite. He said he's his favorite.
I like the hat.
We haven't told him yet he's the adopted one, but we're going to say that. But I think what you're seeing some consistency, with a couple lines. We obviously know some guys that are going to play together, but it's interesting with the defensemen, and I think those four that you see in there tonight are going to be the four that we're probably going to see that start the season. And I would say that it's down to Bischel and Lundqvist, and they've given Lundqvist some rope, and I think Bischel. I remember when we went back to when Sean reported that he didn't have a real good weekend and over there in Michigan, and we talked about that doesn't mean that much, and I think what he's done, when he's come back and played in a couple of games here, he showed pretty well. So we'll see where that all goes, but. My opinion right now is it will be Lundqvist that will start, and then we'll go from there. I'm not sure how you guys feel about that, though.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's Lundqvist far and away. I think that the Lundqvist-Smith conversation, I think you guys talked about it a little bit yesterday. It's kind of a win-win. Right? You put Lundqvist in there, give him a shot. You know what Smith brings. You've seen it. He's a utility guy. So I think Lundqvist has earned that spot too a little bit. He's played well.
I really again. Luddy, you said this yesterday, and we've been talking about this. Massive grain of salt, because Lundqvist should look good against an AHL lineup. And so we still haven't seen a Dallas Stars preseason game against a real NHL veteran-heavy laden group.
But some guys are still making mistakes.
Oh,
Let's not forget that. You got
sure.
Matt Dumba had a few really bad turnovers. We're not seeing that from Lundqvist, even though he's playing against AHL guys.
I really have been happy with Nils' game.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not going to run to the sleeper app and say that suddenly he's going to be in the running for one of the best, surprise young defensemen.
Yeah, no.
I'm tempering my expectations until we see another gear from or another level of opponent.
Do you guys think that if it isn't Matt Dumba, who would you think could take that spot with Miro? Or do you think they don't keep him on the left, they put him back to the right and move Harley back up there? Do you think it's Dumba or it's back to Harley?
I honestly do. I don't think that they trust Lundqvist or Lyubushkin to go up there. Just my personal opinion. I haven't asked them about this or anything, but it feels like the left-right is kind of only an experiment because they have the options that fit in there. If those options all of a sudden don't fit, especially at the top, I don't see it. But keep in mind, the coaches staff, we've talked about it. Everyone has said over and over again, anybody can play with Miroheiskanen. So that is something they are very aware of. And if it was like, hey, it looks really good down here, maybe this pairing looks good, or maybe we really like putting all the left on the left side, maybe Lyubushkin jumps up there. I don't know the answer, but in my opinion, it doesn't feel like there's a real option to go up there and play those top pair minutes.
And we really haven't seen anybody up there with him, obviously, except for Dumba right now. So that's why I was wondering if they're thinking that he's the right guy or he's the closest guy that can play up there, play against top two lines. And if not, that it can be Harley, because we've seen that. We've seen that.
And it was a good pairing.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Luds. I think that's probably the backup option. The first, let's call it the plan B. The plan A is to see how Miro and Dumba play in the regular season. If it goes well, they stick with it. Plan B right now is probably Harley back up there. But what if Nils plays pretty well and,
Right.
and plan C turns into plan B, which is let's see what, Lundqvist looks like with Miro a bit, because we saw that the other night when there were a couple of special teams rotations because of, hey, Miro just played power play. So then they went out. I think we saw Lindell and Dumba for a shift or two, just because they've been sitting. And then you see Miro and Lundqvist. Again, I can see them situationally doing that. Offensive zone start, a face-off in the O-zone kind of thing. But, if Lundqvist plays well, I think that option's on the table.
Yeah, I just think that you need to kind of test it early on, whether it's in a couple preseason games or, it can be in games 1 through 5, 1 through 10. See how Lundqvist does in a road game when they get maybe a top line out against those guys, or even at home if he can get out against the top line, and see how he handles it. And, because I don't know, I said this last week too. You have to find this out, because if you're going to get to playoff time, Lundqvist doesn't want to repeat of what happened last year in the playoffs, and I don't think the team does either. So I think they need to dip their toe in the water a little bit more often than once or twice and find out. Just make sure that he's ready to play against guys that you're going to see in playoff hockey.
We're going to talk more about the game tonight in just a moment as the Stars get ready to play the Avalanche. But first, it's time for us to talk about Empire Today.
Is it
Empire Flooring?
Is it Empire Today?
Do you have it?
Thought it was first. Yeah, Owen's wrong. Sam's
I'm
right.
an ad break off.
Yes,
How
let's
about that?
talk about
We're going to do that in our next one. Okay,
Blue Chew, our newest read. So they say first impressions are important. What about lasting impressions? That's where Blue Chew comes in. Blue Chew helps boost your confidence in the bedroom so you can stay hard and perform at your very best. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in chewable form. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door. The best part, it's all done online, so it's simple and easy. That means no visits to the doctor, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever the opportunity arises. Yeah.
I believe the camera's over there.
Yeah, he's looking at you, though, on
I know.
purpose.
Oh, I noticed.
And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code ALLCITY at checkout. Just pay the $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com, and the promo code is ALLCITY, 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 to receive your first month free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If Sam keeps making inappropriate eye contact, we're going to need to do some new hiring. And how do we do that? We're going to use Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. You don't search, you match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. It is simply to, as we listen to, I got to get rid of Sam. He's got music going now. He does, we need to get on Indeed. We need to have a platform that has over 350 million global visitors. We need to get the Indeed matching engine going to find quality candidates fast. We need to use it for scheduling, screening, messaging, so you can connect with candidates faster. And guess what? It's not just about speed. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. That's Indeed.com/AllCity. Go there right now. Support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on the DLLS Dallas Stars podcast. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. You need to hire? You need Indeed. There we go. All right. Let's bring Bloody back into the frame.
A car that keeps screwing around.
I didn't even hear what he said. Did you?
Yeah, he's talking about us being in the back seat of the car.
Oh, yeah. He's basically saying leave the driver alone so he can keep it on the road.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about goaltending for a second. Who's starting in goal tonight in this pivotal fourth game of the preseason.
Jake Oettinger will start. A little surprised he's only playing 2 periods, which you mentioned maybe could be to keep him healthy, which is a good option. But we'll see Ben Cross tonight in the 3rd period. The goalie out of St. Lawrence played a few games in the AHL last year, so it'd be fun to see him get a 3rd period in. But Jake will play 2. I'm going to take a wild guess. Jake will be starting that last preseason game in St. Louis. So we'll probably see him tonight, and then I would guess Casey Smith on Sunday. But
that makes a lot of sense.
Jake will play 2, and Ben Cross will be your 3rd period goalie.
Luddy, Sean yesterday made the argument that he wants to see his goalies get through 60 minutes, not just 40, to get themselves ramped up. But clearly, there's a debate about whether or not you want to risk your number 1 goalie unnecessarily in preseason, especially if you're going to play him a full game against St. Louis next Thursday. Is it really worth risking him more than they feel they absolutely have to?
I said this the other day. I think it's a conversation you have with your goalie coach and your head coach and your goaltender. And I don't think you can go into those kind of situations being worried about having an injury happen. And I don't think it should even be a topic and plan a seat at all. I think you just go there and you play. And but I think that. I think if I'm a goaltender, I definitely want to play a full game before the regular season starts. So I really think that when you've got a goaltender as important to the team and organization as Jake does, I believe that those conversations are happening, and they probably already have happened. I remember and I didn't even know this at the time, but when I had the opportunity to play with Patrick Watt, after a couple of years, he came in and he sat down with the coaches and he grabbed a calendar. And he didn't get asked to come in there. He went in and grabbed a calendar and he circled all the games that he was going to play and the games that he was not going to play.
The whole season.
Yeah. And, I want to say that was in like his 3rd or 4th year.
That's cool.
But I'm sure he's not I'm going to guess he's probably not the first guy that did that. But he pretty much mapped out when he was going to play. And, when you got franchise players like that, especially at a pivotal position like that. So I'm not saying that's Otter right now, and I think the dialogue is probably more wide open than with a Patrick Waugh. So, but Jeff and those guys and the goaltenders, they have such a great relationship, and I think that those conversations are always ongoing. And how do you feel? And what's your thoughts on this? What's your thoughts on that? So I think that's the best way to, and you can always as a coach, typically the coach, GM. It's all subject to change depending on how we feel that you're playing.
Yeah, that's the only thing that surprised me now that he's playing is that he's not playing a full game, because I agree with Sean in my own opinion, but I also know Jake said multiple times that he would like to get it 1, if not 2 full starts. So I guess you're getting out of it what you want if you're getting 40 minutes. Clearly, they're having those conversations. They're not putting Jake in a position that he's going to be uncomfortable to start the year. But it is interesting. I don't know if maybe the quality goes down in the 3rd period of a preseason game. I don't know the thought process of it, but it did surprise me a little bit that he wouldn't get the full start, and maybe he'll get the full game on next Thursday.
I think there's no doubt he plays the full game against the Blues next Thursday, because you've got to have your goalie play at least one 60-minute game before the season opener. But to me, I don't know. Do you think, Luds, is it the kind of thing as we speculate that's worth asking Jake when we have him in studio? We don't have that booked out, but he said he'd come talk to us, and I'm sure he'll be great. Is it really that big a deal to see from a goalie whether 40 minutes or 60 minutes? You think that's something we want to spend time on?
I do. I think just to get their mindset. I mean, goalies we know that. We've all talked about this for a long time. They're different. They're a different breed, and they prepare themselves differently, and it's a tough spot to be, obviously. So, but I am curious, and I wonder the other guy that I would ask on the other side of that, if you had the opportunity to talk to Jake, I would want to bring Eddie Belfour in and ask Eddie the same question. And I'm on the fence. I don't know what Eddie would say, because typically Eddie wanted to play every single game of the year. Now, is it the same when you're in your 2nd, 3rd, 4th year versus your 12th, 13th, 14th? I would assume so as far as preseason goes. But then again, maybe some goalies are, the frame of mind that, no, I want to be as sharp as I possibly can for game 1 of the regular season.
Yeah, Could be something to dive into. I have some deep reporting from this morning.
I want to hear that. I was
if you
gonna
want
ask
a random, aside from what we have to talk about,
before
if you
you
want to
do
go first.
deep reporting about goalies or the other.
No, it's completely unrelated.
Okay, so let's before we do that, I want to talk to both of you. Let's start with Luds. Matej Blumel's back in. He didn't play the other night. Now he's in tonight, and he and that line that Sam was talking about. Was it Heiskanen and who's the other
Lind
one? And Cole Lind. They're in the conversation. Now, I don't know if Heiskanen is as high up on that depth chart, but Blumel needs to show pretty well, I think, to keep trying to make an impression because there's only so many games left before they have to make that decision.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to hear the conversation, whether head coach, assistant coach, because there's dialogue there. And what do we want to see? This is what we want to see. We want to see you do this because – not only for that player, but for that coach, knowing that I can have a conversation with him and then he actually goes out and does it. Not does it for one period, but he can do it the complete game. If he's going to get, 17 minutes tonight, can he play the way that I'm asking him to play for 14, 15 minutes? But there's no question that they're taking a look at him. And, it's kind of similar to Lundqvist. And like I said, don't we feel like there's maybe 2 or 3 guys here that, they're kind of looking at these guys. The other ones are down the ladder a little bit. And it's clear that he's one of those guys, and to be able to bring a player like that in and have it on a conversation again and just say, listen, here's where you're at. Here's where we see that you are. Here's the kind of player that we think you are. And this is kind of where we can slot you. And so this is what we need to get out of you tonight or in the next game or whatever it is. So I like those kind of things because now the ball's in your court. You can't say that you didn't know. You laid it on the line, and if you don't do it, it sends a message to a couple different people. We're asking him to do this, and he shies away from, depending on what they're asking him to do. So I just think, and I think that's more now than it ever used to be. I know that you wouldn't have those kind of conversations before. Everybody expected us to know what we were supposed to do and what they were looking for. But the conversations happen more often, and there's more going on trying to get inside people's heads and knowing what makes them tick. And I think that's what the players are asking for.
Yeah, what's interesting, 2 points with that. There has been dialogue. Blumel mentioned that the number one thing they told him this summer was to be consistent. He said that his play has been a little bit too much up and down over the last 2 seasons. And he mentioned 2 years ago what I've talked about a few times where he really impressed in preseason, played, I think, all 6 games the last couple of years. I don't know if it was every one, but played a lot of preseason hockey over the last couple of seasons. And he said that his game, both when he got his shot in the NHL, whether preseason or not, and when he was down in the AHL, was just a little bit too bumpy, a little too up and down. And he said he really wants to find that consistency, and that's what the coaches told him. But another interesting point, when we spoke to Misha Donskov, the assistant coach, again this morning, which he's getting a lot of us lately.
Well, Pete DeBoer is home from his appendectomy. He's not yet back to the bench. There's no rush, we were told yesterday.
Yep.
And so Misha, Steve Spott, Elaine Nasruddin, Neil Graham, they can handle it.
They're filling in. But Misha said that Pete's message to the team at the beginning of the year, and specifically to guys that were on a bubble or were trying to make the team, was show us how you can help us win. Because we kept asking, we're like, hey, what are you guys looking for? We asked the first day, are you looking for a specific type of player?
I mean, Pete gave me a great answer when I asked that question. And Luddy, I'll repeat it because I said it a couple days ago, but he said, we're not necessarily looking for a top 6 player. He said, if somebody is in the, that top six style, plays really well, somebody can get moved down. But that they're looking for somebody that can kill penalties and be good in their own zone while also still contributing offensively, maybe in that order. And so that's why for this whole time, I've thought that Oscar Beck has the upper hand because he has the big size.
Yep.
He can take face-offs. He's that type. He's almost like the next version of Radek Faksa. But I tell you what, Wednesday night, I thought Cole Lind looked really good to me. And Blumel, I've seen him look very good in NHL games for the Stars in the past. I don't know if he's made that impression on me as much this year, and I wonder if he's kind of gripping the stick a little tight because he wants to make the team so badly.
Well, and I think when a coach phrases what they're looking for, and we're not necessarily going to circle or pencil you in a top 6 role. It's a little bit easier, to be honest with you, to play in the bottom 6 because the expectations are different. You don't have to put up, a goal every other 2 or 3 games. You don't have to come out of a game with, 2 or 3 points. You just want to be a plus player, and you want to play well in your own zone. And I think that, and if you can, add in a little physicality in there, a little push here and there, but be hard to play against as a third and fourth liner. And most importantly, you can't be a liability when you're out there in your own end. And so that's where so many of these guys that are the bottom 6 forwards or, the bottom 2 or 3 defensemen too. You can't be a liability in your own end. We're not asking you to do some of the things the top players are. So just go out and concentrate on that. And anything after that's a bonus.
Yeah, I think it was Huru that said yesterday, days are blending in for me now, but
I don't even know what day it is now.
So it would have been yesterday.
It's
or maybe
Friday.
Yeah, it's one of the days since the Stars started training camp. Brian Ray yesterday was like, when they start camp on the 27th? And I was like, it's not even the 27th right now. So I think everybody's struggling with the days.
Today is the 27th.
Today's the 27th. But Huru said it just makes it easy to go out and just play hockey. And that's what I think they're looking for in that role. And the only reason I bring that up about show us how you can help us is because we might be trying to pigeonhole a little bit and say Oscar Beck looks like a good fit because of who he is. But we don't know. Someone might just give them a better shot. Maybe because they want them on a PK. Maybe because they want them to get, like, Cole Lynn is going to get some time on the power play tonight. Blue Mel is going to be on that other power play unit. So there's a lot of factors that go in, and it's a pretty big toss up in my opinion for that spot.
Letty said it yesterday, Sam, and I think it was a really astute point. You said that they all kind of look similar to you in the sense of what they're bringing, whether it's Lind or Huru, Beck, Blumel. They've got options. So I don't think this is a pick one and live with it for the whole season. This is if one guy starts preseason really well, makes the opening night roster and plateaus or drops off, you've got lots of options. They've got some depth here.
I think it's a good problem for the coaching staff and Jim Nill, but it's going to sort itself out. Somebody's going to start to rise up a little bit more. And when you're talking about the bottom 6 again, it's the consistency. Can you bring that 4 out of 5 nights? We're not saying that you're a top 20, top 40 player in the NHL, but here's what we need from you. If you're going to get 10, 12 minutes in a night, we need it to be a good 10, 12. And like I said earlier, you can't be costing us things when you're out there, and be a positive player, be a plus player. And honestly, I tell some of our guys all the time, it's kind of an easier game to play. I mean, when you're that guy that has to put up the points and the goals, there's a lot more pressure on you to consistently do that kind of stuff. If you just got to be able to get pucks in, finish a couple checks, go to the front of the net, come out of the game and be even or be plus, have 2 or 3 hits on your side, and a couple other positive stats, you look down, you go, well, he just did what we're asking him to do. It's how you earn your spot in the next game.
Yeah, I want to talk about depth and mention something about Blue Mel, but first, this time around, I am going to talk about Empire today.
Nicely done. Thank you.
Yeah, I got you. With Empire today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and easy installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire is your one-stop flooring shop. They want to provide the best and most efficient service. It may not always be the most affordable, but that is because they will put the best product and the best experience in your space or home. Empire today is the best place to get new flooring, so they're going to have copycats. But Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, speed. So competitors advertise the lower quality products, but that just means that Empire will always put a product in your home that they would put in theirs, unlike a lot of competitors. Empire's philosophy is to help you find what you need and not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is just as important as what they put in. Their virtual floor designer is awesome. You can take a picture of any space in your home and see what their flooring would look like in that space. Makes it super easy, takes out all of the guesswork. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners of this podcast can receive a $350 off discount when they use the code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details.
My turn to talk about Roback. I'm going to do it for the first time. It is quite simple The best fit, best feel, the quality of the gear just speaks for itself with Rhoback Activewear. Their performance polos perform better in the heat than any other polos. They're moisture wicking so the polo won't stick to you, and they have such a nice stretch, you feel like you are lounging in your pajamas. Pajamas or pajamas? I guess it depends on what you like.
I would say pajamas.
Their
but
everyday shorts are the perfect combo for a day on the move. They look clean, but they have the comfort of an elastic waistband. Again, perfect with fall here, even if it doesn't feel like fall. What better way to prepare for the season than by adding one of their incredible performance hoodies to your closet? They're the softest items we own, and you won't want to take them off, even in the Dallas heat. Trust me. Well, I'm not wearing hoodies in the Dallas heat because I'm already a hot-blooded anyway. I'd be sweating all over the place. But once it starts to cool off, then the hoodie is a staple. So performance polos, performance hoodies, everyday shorts. If you want the perfect blend of comfort, style, and versatility, why wouldn't you? Use the code DLLS20 on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all polos, hoodies, and shorts with the code DLLS20. Make sure to check them out, and they will have you ready for whatever travels or activities you have. And speaking of which, our own Craig Ludwig is all over the continental United States right now, and he's always on the move. Somebody get him some Rhoback gear so he's comfortable in this jet-setting lifestyle of his.
And a rugged road cooler.
yeah,
That's right.
There you go. Before we get into what we were going to talk about, I just got thank you, Freelancer, for posting this on the Discord. The Tampa Bay Lightning and Nashville Predators preseason game was postponed from tonight to October 7th because of the hurricane in Florida. So that means Nashville will be playing a preseason game 3 days before the opening game against Dallas.
Luddy, how do you think that affects the season opener? Stars don't play a game for an entire week, whereas Nashville will have a preseason game on the 7th, and then 3 days later they'll play the home opener.
Yeah, I would rather play a couple days before the regular season starts instead of. I looked at that, and it's just kind of odd that you play that game and then all of a sudden you got 4 days off. So,
Yeah.
I don't know, but you know what it also does? It gives the coaches and the team, to get things more dialed in, and whether systems, or there's a couple of guys that, if they have a couple new guys and a couple more days of practice and just kind of get everything where you want it to be for game one. But I've never been like, even the All-Star breaks and all that kind of stuff that goes on. It's not easy when you come back from things. The good news is everybody's got those days off. During the season, are they still doing where every team kind of gets like 5 days off, some break, for a whole week during the regular season? They get that time off. They're not easy coming back from them.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of breaks this year because the Four Nations is a full, I
That's
think
a
it's
2-week
11
break.
or 12 days off of anything. Stars don't play. I think they play on like the 7th. And they don't play again until almost like the 20 something. So there are a few very big gaps in the season this year. But that's always interesting because I was going to say the same thing, Luds. I kind of feel like it might be more beneficial to be playing that week and not be, we talk about the teams coming off a bye week in football and things like that, and it just seems like it's beneficial to play. Who knows if their guys will be playing in that game or what it will be. And it's a quick trip, obviously, down to Tampa that day and night, but just an interesting little point there. So thoughts with the people down there in Florida recovering from the hurricane. But so we were talking about depth. Yeah. Was that my segue?
You're trying to segue, yes. You had a couple.
Segue, is that the word?
A segue would be carrying from one.
Same as the thing that you.
Similar, yes.
Okay, I got to get
pronounced the same.
That's what we need for post games.
I mean, if you want to, if somebody wants to provide us a segue so that we can get back and forth from the AAC to the studio faster, I'm all for it.
You need a helmet though.
Yes,
you have to wear a helmet. That's the rules. All right, let's talk about depth. So this morning, again, talking to Misha, the assistant coach, we mentioned depth, and I think the interesting part, we talked about it a little bit yesterday with Josh and a few other guys at the rink, but the interesting part about the depth is that we think about Dallas is going to have 5, 6, maybe 7 guys that they can call up that they believe are ready. Let's be totally clear about that. They're defensemen. They have 3 defensemen down there that could play top pair minutes there and could potentially play in the NHL with Bichelle, Petrovic, and Capobianco. So then you look at the forwards we were just talking about.
By the way, you said Liam Bichelle a different way again. You said Bichelle.
Well, we just saw that other one on NHL.
That's what I'm
wherever.
saying. That's the
one. Is that how I said it?
So, Luddy, we got another pronunciation for the Swiss kid.
It's too many things.
Just call him
I thought we were sticking with Bichelle.
We are, and then Sam said it different.
And then we just looked up something, and it was also a different way. Anyway, moving on. So
that's a non sequitur.
The important part of this, yes. Let's segue to the important part of this conversation. I think that the depth is not only going to be incredible for this Dallas team, but Texas is going to be good. I mean,
it sure looks that way.
Just thinking about the fact that they have guys, their top 6 essentially, and their top 3 defensemen should be, maybe not call them NHLers, but NHL ready, can be called up and play in a game. And I think that having that depth down there is going to benefit both sides. So that was something that Misha...
That's always a tough thing. You have to be careful thinking that your AHL team is going to be one of the dominant ones, because a lot of AHL teams have quality veterans that can play at the AHL level and help them succeed. That's not uncommon, but I do think that the amount of guys that are in Cedar Park, or that will be once they start making substantial cuts to the camp roster, that can contribute immediately, not, oh, well, we hope he develops into something that could help the big club. I think there's more options from both forwards and D, and even at the goaltender position with Hellberg and Poirier, than we've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the depth. I mean, I talked to Matej Blumel yesterday for a while, and it was a weird practice day where they kind of didn't do the regular sessions, and the media was weird. So I just sat with him for maybe 10 minutes, and he was really honest with me about how he feels. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because you just said maybe he's gripping the stick a little tight. He said exactly that. He said, you know what, I think I'm a work hard guy. I like to be the first one on the ice and the last one off. I like to work through things, and he's shown his emotion. He showed that he was frustrated about not being called up last season. He talked about how he's just hoping and that he's doing everything he can. But I think his important part was he was doing too much. He mentioned he was like, I think I give 110%. Maybe I need to give 100%. And that extra 10, Luds, I'm going to ask you, when you're working too hard, whether that's because you're trying to make a team or it's because you're on a 30-game goalless streak and you're just gripping the stick trying to get it to go in, what can that take away from your game when you're maybe trying too much?
Well, I think especially for forwards, I think they're trying to do too much as far as dangle too much. And I think they're trying to make a pretty play or a pretty pass and make an extra pass instead of just doing the straight line kind of things that I was talking about earlier. And that what that does for coaches, especially coaches that are having talks with players and telling them and asking them to be this type of player, it'll be like, he just doesn't get it. He wants to keep trying to do this. And that's not what we're asking for him. First off, we don't believe that he can accomplish what he's trying to do. It's all about, does the player know who he really is? Right. Because we kind of know who he is, and that's what we're just asking him to be. But I think that has to be dialogue between the coaching staff and the player. And when you see that, the coaches have to go up to him, or the assistant coaches. Somebody's got to go up and say, listen, we're not looking for you to be this guy. Like, when you see that play, make that play right there. The other little, like if it's on the scale of a play that's a 7 or 8 on a, for a top player that's going to try to make that, we're not expecting you to do that. So every time that you do that, in our minds, we're going, okay, he's trying to do too much right now. We're asking you, and it's actually, when you think about it, it's like, oh, that's all you want? Okay, well, I can do that. And then as soon as they buy into that, whether they start here or not, then they look back and there's an injury. Oh, well, you know what? This guy, we're going to plug him in right here. There's a spot that's missing. It's a top 6. Then we look at that player over there. If it's a bottom 6, we look at this player. And I think that's happened to players. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, they've stuck in the lead for 7, 8, 10 years. I mean, let's look at Jordy Ben. Just how Jordy kind of accomplished everything, and Jordy kind of knew who he was, what kind of defenseman he had to be to just hang around and stick around. Next thing you know, you're like, well, how do I not put him back on the ice? All he does is do the right things, and so we don't need to keep wearing, our top 3 out when we have confidence in this player right here.
You know what that reminds me of? Denis Gurianov, when you mentioned just trying to make the extra play.
Oh, yeah.
How many times we talk about Gurianov just drive down the wall and make that cut to the middle at the end of the play? He scored like 10 goals just like that in that season, but he kept trying to cut to the middle and make that extra move, and I think that's what frustrated the coaching staff.
I was always very careful of what I said with Gurianov as when I worked for the Stars, because I didn't want to overly bash a guy. I'll say it here, I don't think his hockey sense was very good.
Yeah.
In fact, Gurianov had all the physical tools: big, strong, fast. His shot was incredible. I think Sean got a great quote a couple years ago of, if you were creating a video game player, Denis Gurianov is the attributes you add to all of that. but his vision, his hockey sense, his ability to understand positionally where he needed to be. There were a lot of times where he looked lost out there, or he made the wrong decision, or, I remember Rick Bowness would constantly be trying to tell him, hey, use your speed, power down the wing, turn the corner. Do it every time. Don't try to cut back to the middle. Make that defenseman have to defend you with that very difficult thing. And they do it 10 out of 10. Guess what? Eventually, that cutback might open up. But, if the guy only loses you once, you've got a one-on-one with the goalie that one time. And, for all his natural gifts, Luds, I never thought Gurianov thought the game particularly well.
Well, and that, unfortunately, that's what happens. I mean, and it comes to the point where the coaches or general manager sitting up there, and you'll hear them, they watch, and then all of a sudden he just doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. This is what we're asking him to do. He doesn't get it. And then that eventually they just get pushed further and further down, and then they get moved away. But yeah, and especially in today's game, when you have size, and I said this about Val when he was here and Chushkin was here. I was talking to Stan. I said, what, for me, I'd have put Val in his offside, and because he is such a big horse, and I would just have him get the corner and cut to the net.
Yeah.
And because the rules are different in today's game, the clutching, grabbing, and so you're either going to bring the whole shit show right to the front of the net, or you're going to draw a penalty. And when you bring everything to the front of the net, there's always good things that can happen, and everybody comes into there. But that's when we talk about bringing players and putting these two guys and a guy on the other side that can complement them and kind of bring that show in there. But then it opens up space for other players, the talented ones or the skilled ones. So I agree with you on the Gurianov thing. It was like, man, dude, just go to the net, because something good is going to happen when you do that.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, Luds, Wyatt Johnston has, I think, boatloads of hockey sense and vision, and he's the complete opposite as far as how he thinks and sees the game.
He just has a different mentality. Again, he is the package. I think if you asked Wyatt, well, maybe not. I mean, he's having a ton of success where he is. He may say, I'd love to be 3 inches taller and 15 pounds heavier. But you're not. But you seem to accomplish everything that you are.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? And like I said, in today's game, because he has the quickness, he has the ability and the want to be able to go to the front of the net. He's not afraid to go to the front of the net. He can get in there and he can disrupt a lot of things in front. But his shot, his vision. I grabbed one of his sticks. We had one of his sticks. One of the guys from Bauer brought one of his sticks, and I could not believe the flex on it. I mean, there's nothing there. So
do you remember what his flex was?
Oh, it was 50 something.
Jeez.
I mean, it's unbelievable. So, and you have to be a special kind of player to be able to play with that kind of stick too, right?
But that's actually the trend now, isn't it?
This is Wyatt we're talking about with
more
stick?
and more guys are using flexes in the 60s when it used to be 90s or 100. The convention was take your body weight, divide it by 2, that's your flex. And these kids, and I say these kids, these NHL young stars are using stuff 20 flex lower than that number as the norm.
That's why they're breaking so much.
You know what? It's very similar to that stupid game I was playing today. And you hear all these golfers out there, let the club do the work. Let the club do the work, right? And these guys have learned how to let that stick do the work with the flex. And I mean, I tried, one of them, I don't know, it was like a 75 or something like that. It's just, the puck just kind of goes off to the side. So, but anyway, all these different plays, but it's all, for me, it's always about how quick can the player get it. And to take the information that you're receiving from your coach, general manager, and whoever it is, and program it in there, and it's got to stay there. And then from there, you'll have the right people that are saying, you know what, we think you can do a little more. You can give us a little more. You can do that. We want you to try a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, but I just think it's how it comes in and how it's received.
Yeah, and you mentioned Gurianov. I mean, it's a great point saying that is a significant reason that he didn't have success after that 20-goal season in 2018-19 or 2019-20. He was with Dallas again. Obviously, had a lot of struggles. Then went to Montreal. Then was with Nashville, but mostly played in the AHL. Played 4 games with Philly last year, and now he's in the KHL.
And
so look, it's been a tough stretch.
Let's
for
put
him.
a bow on Gurianov real quick because I wasn't planning on bringing him up today. He couldn't be a nicer human being. He's very intelligent. In fact, he might be one of the smartest players of the last 10 years from an academic side of things. Really, really intelligent kid. But his hockey sense was just not up to the level of a lot of the better visionaries that played the NHL game. So it was disappointing in the end because I was really rooting for Dennis. Again, nice guy. Really, the effort was there. The team players liked him. He wasn't a bad guy. It just didn't work out and it didn't click in that, which is ironic because he seems to be so smart off the ice. It just didn't have it as much on the ice. So, amazingly, we're going to have to move our NHL coaching carousel conversation to next week.
You thought we weren't going to have enough to talk about.
I know. We didn't even have time to get to it because we have a bunch of NHL news and notes. But first, let's talk about the Die Hard program. DLLS Die Hard program is the best way to upgrade your fandom by joining us at the premier level of the DLLS sports scene. We're talking about with your annual subscription, you get a free shirt every single year of your choice. You get a promo code and you can use it at any time. It doesn't expire. So that's one free DLLS shirt every year. That's just the tip of the iceberg. In addition to that, you get access to all the premium Die Hard content, including our boy Sam's writing, Sean's writing that might be behind the Die Hard paywall, 20% off all merchandise and events, a Die Hard member card, and access to the Discord channel that we like to call Luddy's Damn Discord. I think that sounds like a really good investment each year for only $79.99. And in addition to all that, you also, when you're reading the articles on all of our sports platforms for DLLS, they get rid of the ads.
Yeah.
Which I like.
Yeah, that's becoming more and more of an issue in today's world where you go to a website to read an article and it's pop-up after pop-up. Ours isn't that bad without Die Hard, but it's a lot better with none. I'll tell you that.
You ready to go around the NHL?
Let's do it.
All right. Luddy, let's start with something that will be very near and dear to your heart. A defenseman is named captain as the Buffalo Sabres have named Rasmus Dahlin as the new captain of the Sabres. You can see the picture there if you're watching our YouTube stream where it's Dahlin and all of the alternates, including the former Vegas Golden Knights Alex Tuch. I believe Matthias Samuelsson over on the right, who is that's Shell Samuelson's son.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with Shell with the Flyers AHL team up in Adirondack about 15 years ago.
Yikes.
So, and I remember seeing Matthias as a young kid. He was a teenager, preteen. He's probably a middle schooler.
You're aging yourself more and more as you go.
Listen, I'm not getting younger.
I love these uniforms, by the way.
Luds, what do you think about Dahlin as a player and Dahlin as the next captain of the Sabres?
Well, it's hard to speak on the captain because you don't really know what kind of leader he is in that group. Been there for a long time, right? And super skilled player. But he went through his time learning how to be a good player in the NHL. I think he came in and wanted to play that, up-tempo skill, dangle here and there. I believe I heard that he had the whole team come over to wherever he's from here in the summer, and they trained together and they did all this kind of stuff. So he's obviously taken the reins of that group. So, and again, it's another player, and it doesn't have, you don't have to put a letter on a player that plays 27 minutes a night, but he's on the ice all the time. So there's no question that they lean on him to be a leader on the ice. So obviously he's got the tools to be that same guy off the ice and kind of bring the group together. And you kind of have to have that ability to be able to know when to and when not to, when to go to the coaches, maybe go up to the general manager or just keep stuff in-house, and how you can grab a couple players, especially one player sometimes, go have a little chat with them and things like that. So, Buffalo's been, that organization has been around a long time and had a lot of great players come through there. So I'm sure they know what they're looking for in a captain.
I think Miro's a better defender than Dahlin. I think Dahlin, as Luddy was talking about the other day, the needle of offense to defense is probably pitched a little bit more offensive with Dahlin. He's very, very good, and he likes to take over games with the puck. I think he reminds me a little more of Cale Makar in that way. And again, different state of the organization, Stars versus Sabres, as far as where they are and where their future is, and they don't have a Jamie Benn like Dallas has at the moment, because I could totally see Miro, as we talked about before, being the captain of the future. Dahlin's going to be there a long time. You just look at that Sabres lineup, and they have so many good young players. I think Owen Power's a very good defenseman.
Yeah.
Tage Thompson a couple years ago really started to show out. They got, was it Peyton Krebs in that trade that sent Eichel to Vegas? I think they could be good if they figure it all out.
Yeah,
I think they brought Lindy back, right?
Yeah,
So,
And they brought
Lindy's
Lindy
a big
back.
one.
what was it? 1 day into practice, 2 days into practice, apparently he stopped and give it to the team. So I think that they're probably looking at it going, we need a guy that can be a little bit more hard on our players. And it's been haven't won a lot of games, and maybe it becomes too country clubbish. And so I think Lindy's going to put the hammer down and step on a few of them a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he did the same thing in New Jersey, right? Lindy Ruff was perfect for that team. He got them together, brought them to the second round of the playoffs. They obviously had a little down year with the crazy injuries last year, which led to him ending up in Buffalo.
If they had a goalie that could stop a puck, maybe the Devils weren't so bad last year.
I don't think they were, and I think they're going back to the playoffs this year. But I think that he's a great coach for that role, and he'll do a good job. And then, yeah, we talked about it last time, like, Dahlin's not an example of this, but we like captains. At least we talked about liking having a team having a captain. But Dahlin seems ready. He's 24. He's played 436 games, as you mentioned, offensive, 292 points in those games. He's ready, and I think he'll be he seems like a good captain. He seems like a good leader. He's I don't know this, but he seems like someone who shows a lot more than talks, in my opinion. But I think it's just going to be good for that organization, and I think they are going to take not the next step maybe to the playoffs, but the next step definitely in their rebuild.
Up next, we have a silly scene in Toronto. Where have you heard that before? Sam, take this one, please, because you found this meme.
I just love it. For those of you not watching,
well, explain this for people that don't know what happened.
So in the game, this was last night, Toronto Maple Leafs preseason game. Nick Robertson is on the back check, and William Nylander is about 3 feet in front of him. We've seen this with Jamie Benn a few times. I think Joe Pavelski used to do it, where if you maybe are tired or you're behind the play and someone is starting to get their engine going, you use your stick and you can push on the back of their pants or on the back of their leg and kind of give them a little boost to try to get back into play earlier. That's what Robertson is attempting to do on this play. But it went horribly. So the meme is a person on a bike, and they're sticking a pole directly in their own tire to flipping themselves over, and that's what it felt like in the game. Because I don't know if Nylander caught an edge. He mentioned how the ice was a little bit soft yesterday, so maybe it was an edge. Because you shouldn't go down just from getting poked in your back of your pants. He went full face down and slid across, and he actually ran into a player in a kind of a scary collision. He left the game. He didn't come back, but it was all precautionary. According to their coach, and he said he'll be fine, so we can laugh about it, it seems. But it was a very bizarre play there.
Buddy, I get the whole like teammate
Montreal,
pushes
the first
you.
time I ever saw that. Yeah, you know what? I don't like it. I don't. I think the player in front has to know. And first time I ever saw it, it was in Montreal. I was a rookie, and I saw Guy Lafleur do it to one of his line mates. But he said something first, and so. It's obviously something they had done, but somehow you got to give that player a warning that you're going to give them that little push. I tried it one time. I can't remember who I tried it with, and I missed where I wanted to push, and I got on the back of his leg and basically almost slew-footed him. So,
yeah.
The timing's got to be right, and both players have to kind of be part of it, because if the guy that's in front is kind of unsuspecting, it flips up with your balance a little bit.
And you're not pushing him with a glove. You're wielding the toe of your blade. It's like a spear. So
I don't think it's that beneficial from a physics standpoint. The glove, right? You get behind a guy, if you can push and give him a little boost,
you can get your full body,
and he's aware of it. Like Letty said, you can kind of set your balance right. But just a random stick in the back just seems uncomfortable, let alone ineffective.
I've seen Ben do it a few times when Ben's kind of like drifting off to the bench and they're back checking, and maybe the guy just came on or someone else is skating by him, and Ben will kind of just like throw his stick out and give him a poke. And I don't think it does anything, but they're doing it, and I would imagine that they at least believe that it's doing something. But if you're going to do it right and the player knows you're going to do it, they stop skating. Yeah. You don't continue to stride. You stop skating, and you get a little energy boost there from you. So, and it can be painful if you put that stick blade in the wrong spot.
It's the short track speed skating relay team where they get behind them and just push them.
Yeah,
that's what they need to do. But getting the stick involved seems like a bad idea. Speaking of the week of the appendix, how about this? After Pete DeBoer had a surgery to remove his appendix, John Gibson, the goalie of the Ducks, has had an appendectomy, and now he's out 3 to 6 weeks. I don't think, Luddy, this is going to affect the Anaheim Ducks in a big way. I mean, obviously, they'd rather have John Gibson in than out, but their team is not projecting to be all that good as we open the season in about 2 weeks.
Gibson may have stuck a knife in his own appendix. Well, it's a rough club going on there. He's like, dude, I had enough of this. So, we know that it's that rebuild seems to be continuing along down the road for these guys.
And this is a tough. I think if there's any position the Ducks could not afford to lose their guy, it was goalie, because we talked about it, I don't know when, a couple weeks ago. I've never seen a goalie take as many shots as John Gibson does when he plays for the Ducks. And I was shocked that he stayed. I was shocked he hasn't gotten traded yet. But I've seen
and we talked about it a couple weeks ago that he seems, at least the rumors are reporting from some of the reporters out there, that he's more willing to entertain trade talks than he has ever been.
Which he should be. I mean, he's deserved it. I think he's one of the top goalies in the NHL if he's playing on a team that isn't giving up 50 high-quality scoring chances a game. But we've seen him get pulled multiple times because he's getting too many shots against in the first 2 periods of games. But I said to Owen right before, I said, Lucas Dostal, he better be ready, because he's got at least 3 weeks probably of a regular season to be the guy back there, and he's going to get some work. I'll tell you that.
You feel bad for a goaltender like that, because the years are just kind of adding up, and they're sliding away from him, where he doesn't get the opportunity to be that good tender or that good player on a contending team.
Yeah,
and he's 31 now, so
maybe
those years
trade deadline is.
I wouldn't be surprised if he got moved this year. Finally, Brian Little, who spent his entire career with the Winnipeg Jets / Atlanta Thrashers. Will sign a 1-day contract with the Jets to retire as a Jet. Why does he have to do that if he spent his whole career with the organization? Well, Little, who's 36 now, actually was traded on March 21st, 2022 to the Arizona Coyotes after in the 2019-20 season, 2 years prior, he suffered a puck to the back of the head on a shot against Sam's New Jersey Devils and had surgery later to repair a perforated eardrum, and he did not play again. This was November 5th of 2019.
Yeah,
so this is
7 games that year.
Before the Stars Winter Classic at the Cotton Bowl, and then the 2 months after that, the subsequent lockdown and pandemic halt of the season. He actually spent a big amount of time on the Arizona cap because of a big contract. He signed a 6-year deal in 2017 with the Jets, and then had to they used him as LTIR space essentially, or cap floor space. So, Luds, I always thought Brian Little, for not a very big guy, I'm not pointing at Sam or anything, was extremely effective for his small stature. I really liked the way he played, and you just hate. I know it's been 4 years since he's played an NHL game. You hate to see guys' careers cut short because of any injuries, let alone a freak one like this.
Effective and efficient, and that's the kind of player, reliable. Wasn't going to be a 40, 50 goal scorer, but you knew what it's kind of like what we were talking about. The guys were talking about in the bottom 6 trying to make the team. You knew what you were going to get out of Little, and it wasn't a little. I mean, for you got plenty from him. And again, like for a coach, it's like, I can continue to put him in these situations because I know what I'm getting. I can trust him, and he's got dependability on his side.
I mean, he had a few different years where he scored 20, 24, 23 goals. So
very good middle to bottom 6 player.
He was putting up some good numbers. His solid career, but I think 7 games that 2019-20 season before the injury. So it's always nice when they get the retirement with the team, though, and you get that positive at the end of it.
Yeah, it'd be good for him to get a chance to go out as the player he always played for with the Jets and Thrashers. So that will wrap up today's Around the NHL and our week. That's 5 weeks in. We're on to week 6. A couple of things to keep an eye out. Stars game tonight against the Avalanche. We spent a lot of time talking about it. But also Sunday, I believe at 5:30 Central Time, they go to Minnesota. I don't know if the Stars will have their full heavily veteran-laden lineup like they've been. I think there'll probably be some rotation, but I think the Minnesota Wild will have a much different lineup than they did on Wednesday night when they came to the AAC with a glorified AHL roster. And then we'll be back on Monday for a 2:00 Central Time show, and we'll have 2 preseason games to talk about.
It's nice. I like that. We don't have to plan too many things. Just talk about the real hockey. That's
And
what
guess
we've been waiting
what?
for.
As long as everything goes according to plan, Luddy, are you in studio on Monday?
No, I'm not in the studio Monday. I think I'm going to stop along the road again.
Oh, we're gonna have you on a rest stop, like at a Buc-ee's or something.
Oh,
Yeah, well, Buc-ee's, maybe a Love's.
Nice.
You know, could be a little different spot. Who knows? I don't know where the hell I'm going to be. I have
You'll
no
be on
clue.
the map somewhere,
Yeah.
right? We'll have to keep
Yep.
an eye on you. Well, keep an eye out for Sam's article after tonight's game, his 3 thoughts about the Stars and the Avalanche, and then probably again Sunday for Stars and Wild. And then we'll do the show from Luddy will really be parts unknown on Monday, 2 o'clock Central Time. And John will be back as our producer for that. But a huge thank you to Tanner, who did a
Yes.
great job today. We even threw a bunch of graphics at him, and he didn't have any trouble with it. Apparently, he's the only thing I have a problem with is he's wearing a Mavericks t-shirt. And he's kind of rubbing it in his face of where his real allegiances lie.
yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, John just wears Patriots and Bruins stuff all
I
the
don't
time.
mind that
so
either,
I know
though.
you don't, but it clashes even harder with the show, eh?
I have to see if Luddy does the show on Monday with a cheese head. You know, bringing back some
That would be
spotted
good.
cow.
I won't be in Wisconsin.
Well, Luddy, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We hope you guys have a great weekend with your niece at the wedding there, and can't wait to have you back in Dallas sometime early next week.
You got it, guys. Good to talk to you again.
You too. Also, John.
And John,
Enjoy the weekend. We'll
he's
see
at a
you,
wedding in Boston.
We'll see you on Monday.
For Sam,
Let's get some real hockey started.
Yes.
I know we're only
We are
2+ weeks away.
less than 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks now. So it's not too far off. That's it for our week. Thanks, everybody. For Tanner, for Sam, for Luds, I'm Owen. We will see you next Monday on the DLLS Dallas Stars podcast. Have a great weekend. So long, everyone.
We all silly like the mayor.